to give us what we need. Hey!
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
I just wanna get high on my lover. Veo una muñeca cuando miro en el espejo. Kiss, kiss, looking dolly eye. Think I may go out tonight. I just wanna ride, get high in the moonlight. I just wanna get high on my lover. Veo una muñeca cuando miro en el espejo. Kiss, kiss, looking dolly eye. Think I may go out tonight. I just wanna ride, get high in the moonlight. Forget the small talk, the surface level ain't much that I care for. Putting on my lip gloss, I saw you step from my peripheral. Yeah, baby, it's been a hell of a day, but I know a place we can escape. Find out how it feels to let go of everything, be free when you're here with me. I just wanna get high on my lover. Veo una muñeca cuando miro en el espejo. Kiss, kiss, looking dolly eye. Think I may go out tonight. I just wanna ride, get high in the moonlight. I just wanna get high on my lover. Veo una muñeca cuando miro en el espejo. Kiss, kiss, looking dolly eye. Think I may go out tonight. I just wanna ride, get high in the moonlight.
Yeah.
Nothing like this in my
Welcome to Areva Martin in real time. I'm your special guest host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in to KBLA Talk 1580, where we're unapologetically progressive. We don't black down, and this is the place where we got a lot to talk about, folks. Again, I'm your special guest host, Farajii Muhammad. I am so happy and humbled to be back in the chair, joining you and getting ready for some dynamic conversations. There's so much that's been happening over these past few days, and if you've been tuned into KBLA Talk 1580, you know that there's breaking news every single day. You know that there's always something that is that we can talk about, and today it's nothing different outside of that. We are going to get into some fantastic conversations. I got our great contributors that's going to be joining me in a few moments. We're going to be joined by one brother who's going to give us some insight about some of these big news stories. But before we get to him, I want to invite you to do a few things. If you haven't already, make sure you go to the website at KBLA1580.com. Again, that's KBLA1580.com. That's our official website where you can take a look at all of the great things that we have been doing as we are kicking off year 3 of KBLA 1580. So we have posted some great content on the site. We have the must-see historic conversation that we had with our all-black panel of experts and a rich dialogue about climate justice and racial equity that was aired on C-SPAN, hosted by our very own Brother Tavis Smiley. And that was a conversation, and that was a demonstration, unlike any other demonstration that you have seen, where you're bringing all of these black thinkers and leaders in the environmental climate justice space on one stage to have a conversation. And we are continuing to have those conversations throughout the rest of this year as we're on this campaign to ensure that we do not forget that our climate affects how we think, how we act, how we see the world. And so we got to do our part to make sure that we are living in a safe space, not just for us, of course, but for the generations coming behind us. So you can check us out there. We also got some streaming news right there. And, of course, all of the listing of the dynamic programs that we have here on KBLA 1580, KBLA Talk 1580. So I highly, highly recommend that you check us out. We can also find us on social media, KBLA 1580, on all social media platforms, talking about Instagram, on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, on Facebook. Just make sure that you like us, that you follow us, that you stay in tune with us. And we truly, truly would appreciate that. Also, you can follow me, yours truly, Farajii Muhammad. You can find me on Instagram at The Real Farajii. You can find me there. You can also find me on Facebook as well as on the X platform at Farajii. I'm there. Follow my sister, Areva Martin. She's there. She's always posting something, always keeping us up to date on everything, the great work that she's doing. So make sure y'all follow Areva Martin on all social media platforms and all of the dynamic voices. Brother Tavis Smiley, Robin Ayers, Lynn Richardson, all of us, all of the great voices that you hear here on KBLA Talk 1580. We want to make sure you stay connected. And folks, we have so much to talk about. I can't emphasize this enough, because when we think about the time that we're living in right now, and this is the very important part, the time that we're living in is such a critical time. I was always taught that when there is so much uncertainty, when there's so much chaos and confusion and so many questions that people are posing and so few answers that people are given to explain things that are happening around us, the best route for us to take is to be guided. And so, the great work that we do here at KBLA Talk 1580 is all about providing some perspective, some context, some guidance through the dynamic voices, not just those you hear on a daily basis here, but from our great contributors. We're having these conversations in a very different, progressive, unapologetically Black way. And so we invite you to jump into the conversations and be a part of that process, as we want to continue to be an institution and a source of news and information. So make sure you do that. Let me just throw this out there, and then we're going to introduce our first contributor, because we have a number of these big stories that have come up. First and foremost, it was just reported that President Joe Biden has officially, it has been reported that he has COVID. And for some of you who might be thinking to yourself, what? COVID is still around? COVID cases are actually rising back up, even in the summertime. Even in 2024, I know some of us may think that we have gotten past that. Oh, man, from 2020 to 2022, things were a little bit uncertain. Things were kind of crazy. But actually in 2024, the summer of 2024, we're seeing that there is an increase in COVID cases. And so President Joe Biden has been released from the White House that he has now contracted COVID. He's in Las Vegas. He spoke yesterday at the NAACP convention and talking to some of our people there, some of his staunchest supporters there. But he was scheduled to speak at another campaign event where Latino brothers and sisters and Hispanic brothers and sisters came together. But that's not going to happen, obviously. So he is going to be on, I would say, limited access or limited movement as a result of his latest diagnosis. So that is something that just came across the wire just a few moments ago, where President Biden has now contracted COVID. Once again, this is, I believe, his second time. They're saying that he is only dealing with mild symptoms right now. So we'll kind of get back to that, and we hope the president is able to get through this stint of the COVID, and it doesn't, take him down, as we know that COVID can do. So wanted to bring you up to speed on that. But we're also going to talk about the support. And speaking of the NAACP, let's talk about the support that President Biden has gotten through this, what is the third week? Fourth? It feels like, we've been going through this process for days on days. But I think it's just like since the debate that the president did with former President Donald Trump, and the calls for there to be a replacement at the top of the ticket with him stepping down from the race. We're going to talk about how the support from Black people continue to grow to be strong for the president. And what does that mean, especially going into this portion, especially given that the Republicans have coronated Donald Trump as their official nominee, as their convention is happening right now in Milwaukee. Of course, the Democrats are gearing up for their convention, and we're going to be doing our due diligence to have to be reporting live from the convention. We're going to have those conversations in August. But let's talk about the support that black people have given the president. And of course, another big story is here in the state of California, Representative Adam Schiff has come out. He is one of the highest ranking Democrats in Congress. He has come out to say that the president should step down. Now, before he was making he was kind of holding the line a little bit, but now he is saying that the president should step down. So this dilemma is continuing to happen as we have this part of the conversation. But I do want to talk about the black support. Then if we're talking a little bit about the RNC, if we get to it, I got to play for you just a little sound of what was said at the RNC, particularly from black Republicans. And I know my guest, Jared Hill, will understand that the importance of us having that conversation about black Republicans and what does that mean moving forward. We'll have that discussion. And because my brother is he served as the president, he's the former president of the National Association of Black Journalists here in Los Angeles. I want to start this conversation off, and we're going to take a quick pause, but I want to start this conversation off putting us in the right frame. Our frame, as we're seeing all of this thing play out, the assassination attempt, as we're seeing the calls for President Biden to step aside. I want to talk about the right frame for all of this. And I'm very confident that my brother Jared Hill can give us some insight as to how we should look at this moving forward. So, folks, we got a lot of ground to cover. We're just getting started. Make sure you keep your stations locked to where you got it. It is the Areva Martin in real time. I'm your special guest host, Farajii Muhammad, and this is KBLA Talk 1580. We'll be right back.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Just a few short months ago, California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed 11 felony charges against Diana Turan, an assistant district attorney for Los Angeles County. The charges allege that Turan unlawfully accessed confidential computer data, including police officer files in 2018, and continued to use them after joining the DA's office in 2021. Ironically, Turan, who is now on administrative leave, oversaw the Public Integrity Division, responsible for handling high-profile cases of police misconduct and public corruption, including the charges brought against LA City Council member Karen Price last June. To be sure, the case against Price has raised plenty of eyebrows. Indeed, one noted legal scholar has said publicly, and I quote, "Everything about this prosecution reeks," close quote. Could A.G. Bonta, with aspirations to become California governor, be punishing Turan for her role in D.A. George Gascon's police accountability agenda to curry favor with police unions? Could D.A. Gascon be using the case against Price to showcase his tough stance on crime and political corruption as he vies to retain his seat as DA? Honestly, I have no idea, but here's what I know for sure. Karen Price has been elected and re-elected by thousands of voters, mostly black and brown, who stand to be further disenfranchised if this matter is not handled correctly, which is why it matters to us at KBLA Talk 1580. When the prosecutor is being prosecuted, it seems to me that at the very least, there ought to be a thorough, top-to-bottom, independent review of all cases under Diana Turan's purview to ensure that none of these cases have been tainted. Justice and fundamental fairness demand no less, if public trust truly matters. And I hope it does. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your feedback.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king. Climate is king.
Presenting a Gain Flings love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness. From my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
That's right, absolutely. And you're tuned into Farajii Muhammad, your special guest host here on In Real Time on KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm very, very excited about today's show, at least as we kick off the first hour, to have these important conversations with you. So I don't want to delay the time any longer. I am going to be, let's bring up my brother, Jared Hill, who served as the former president. He's the former president, of the National Association of Black Journalists here in Los Angeles. And we're very, very excited to have him joining us once again to give us his take and analysis of all that is happening. So, Brother Jared, thank you so much for joining me, bro. How you feeling this afternoon?
Absolutely. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Jared, let's start off talking because you served as the president of this prestigious journalistic organization, the National Association of Black Journalists. So I thought it would be apropos, as they say, to have a conversation first about frame, to give us a frame for us to work at, to work on, and to see things as all of these things that are happening around us, political things, social things. We have all of this stuff is happening, right? A lot of moving parts and pieces. And black people in this country, we're at the center. Now, it may not feel like that, but I think it is. And tell me if I'm overstepping my bounds in saying that, Brother Jared, but I feel like we're at the center of the of attention. We're in the eye of the storm because as the winds blow, as things are happening in this country, people are asking a question, well, how will this affect Black America? I heard my big brother, Brother Tavis, making a point on, as he's been kind of driving home this point on his show, talking about Black people in Black America we always finding ourselves saving democracy. And I thought, that's been on my mind, that's been on my heart, that's been on my spirit, Brother Jared. So I want to kind of get your take on this bigger picture, then we can kind of just work our way down to some of the big topics, to the topics and some of the issues. But what's the frame that we should start to see these things? How we can start to see these things, how we can start to process things. Talk to me. What's the frame that we should see, that we should use here?
Well, I think to the point that Tavis was making there about, Black folks being now kind of seen as possibly being required to save democracy. There are many of us who believe that Black folks are the reason that we even have a genuine democracy in this country because of the ways in which enslavement and coming out of enslavement, and getting our own rights to vote had a significant impact on what this country said it was meant to be as opposed to what it actually had been. And so the idea of, Black folks being the folks that might be the ones to save democracy is apropos, as you put it. I would also say that if we're thinking about this from a political standpoint, where we're looking at the presidential election, you brought up Joe Biden having COVID, right? And how Joe Biden has had many different things coming at him in the last few weeks here.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden has definitely relied on the Black vote to be a significant impact in his preservation as a candidate throughout the 2020 election, and then also to then becoming president. And so I think that there has always been an outsized impact of the Black vote having some significant impact on the way that this country is moving forward.
So if the Black vote has had significant impact, how is it that we still don't feel like majority stakeholders in this corporation called the United States of America? Right? How come we're still feeling like we're on the outside, right? When in fact, our very interests, our very existence, our very humanity is rooted in how this country treats us. And more importantly, how this country is going to treat us not just next year, not just the next 4 years, but just moving forward.
I mean, the reason it feels that way is probably because it is that way, right? I think that we know that there are so many different people in this country who experience a second-class kind of citizenship, that experience what it's like to be a part of this country, to be expected to stand up and vote in this country, be a part of the civic engagement in this country, and all of those different things, and then also feel a bit of a second-class citizenship. And so I think that when we think about this from a voting perspective, we know a lot of Black folks get frustrated with the voting message and the way that we position voting as something that people have to be a part of because people died for it, or because folks, because of the history of that in this country overall. And I think that for a lot of us that are frustrated with the system, a lot of times that feeling of being a second-class citizen, or not having our voices heard, or not being given the fair shot or the fair opportunity, those things continue to contribute to that feeling of this not being what it's supposed to be or what it says it is.
Right. Absolutely. So now that you laid the groundwork, because I love how you put that, we're still feeling like second-class citizens. So now that we're laying that groundwork, and I think there is some serious truth in that statement there, Jared. Moving forward, let's talk a little bit about how should we see these things happening with your role as, you served as the president of the National Association of Black Journalists. How are we telling this story in a way that's going to engage us, that's going to inform us? How do we make sure that we're seeing what we need to see in this moment?
I think that is the work of being a Black person in media. I think that if we're talking about how we want to frame these stories or how they have impact on our communities, I think a place like KBLA is a great example of that. We're able to tell stories here that are able to kind of give a context around the story, whether we're talking about the president having COVID, or if we're talking about climate change, or if we're talking about, the economy, et cetera, to be able to frame those stories in Blackness, in the ways that the stories impact Black people. If we're talking about the environment, if we're talking about environmental justice, if we're talking about the presidential election, we're talking about the issues that most affect our communities. If we're talking about, the various different things, I think within this context, it's always important to have that framing for us to be able to think about what's important to us as voters, what's important to us as citizens, what's important to us as human beings with one another.
So now, given that, what do you make of this unwavering support that we're seeing coming up for this president as he is being called to step down from the top of the ticket here? We got word that the CBC is on board, and those are our Congressional Black Caucus members, those individuals, those representatives who represent us from across the country, are saying, look, we're standing with Biden. We're hearing other individuals like a James Clyburn and others who are not, I don't want to use this term surrogate, Jared, but those are longtime supporters of this president and are holding the line when other Democrats, as they say, have been bedwetting. Other Democrats have been, the sky is falling, all is lost. We're about to lose to former President Trump. So what do you see here in this moment in that relationship between us and this president?
Well, as I said earlier, I think Joe Biden has had a great relationship with the black voter, right? Black voters have gotten Joe Biden very far and have kept him in the race and gotten him over the finish line. But I also would say that I wouldn't say that the support is unwavering, right? We've seen data that has shown that he has strong support in the black community. He obviously was at the NAACP yesterday giving a speech on the campaign trail. And so that is a really special relationship to him. I would say that I don't know that the support is unwavering because as we continue to see more and more people coming out to say that they're not supporting the president, or more so that they think he should step down and give the ticket to someone else, I don't think that tide is going to turn back in the opposite direction, right? And so as we are looking at the Congressional Black Caucus or the NAACP or all of these other different groups of black folks, or the data that comes out that shows black people supporting him, I don't know that support is going to continue to grow beyond where it is, right? I think we may have hit the ceiling of where that support is going to be. And as we now are looking at Adam Schiff and other Democrats that are getting higher and higher in the ranks, I would imagine that support is probably going to continue to diminish. And so when I think about black folks' support of Joe Biden, I think that black folks will probably continue to support Joe Biden until there is another candidate. And I will tell you for myself personally, like I'm a bit more excited to vote for Kamala Harris than I am for Joe Biden, right? Or something like that. So I think when there's another option, it definitely makes it a risk because we've not really seen something like this in our political landscape before, in our lifetimes for sure, where we had someone kind of swapped out so quickly, so closely to the election. But I think that black folks are going to make good decisions in this situation.
And I know we got about 30 seconds, but do you feel like if the president does decide to drop out, that it will automatically move to Kamala to Vice President Harris?
I think that's what the general expectation is, but I also would remind you that we're talking about a black person and a woman and then a black woman. And so, I would hope that would happen, but I think we've seen ourselves shortchanged in other situations before.
Absolutely. Look, we're going to take another quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue the conversation. Folks, I'm checking in with Jared Hill, the former president of the National Association of Black Journalists here in Los Angeles. And we are talking about the things that we need to talk about here on Areva Martin in Real Time. Stay with us. It's Areva Martin in Real Time here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva Time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in Real Time when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Mayor Muriel Bowser isn't happy with the budget passed by the Washington, D.C. Council last month. The mayor, who is black, returned the budget to the council without her signature this week. The mayor said in a statement that she could not support a budget that increases property and income taxes and could lead to more tax hikes next year. The budget could still take effect without the mayor's signature, though it still needs to be approved by Congress. BIN News anchor Doug Davis is in Las Vegas on the final day of the NAACP National Convention.
Hey, thanks, Amber. Coming up today, the NAACP Labor Luncheon, which will highlight the profound contributions of trailblazers in the labor and civil rights movements. And tonight, the Spingarn Freedom Fund Awards Gala. Raheem Devon will perform, and Vivica Fox will be a special guest speaker. I'm Doug Davis, live in Las Vegas for the NAACP National Convention. Amber?
Thanks, Doug. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Watch for a stall currently blocking the left lane of the off-ramp to the 10 west of Mateo Street, Santa Fe Avenue split over in downtown, and heavy traffic is coming from the 5-101 split. In West LA, accident is on the right shoulder of the 10 East of Bundy Drive with a 15-minute backup running heavy from 20th. Hit-and-run accident also downtown on the 110 North at 8th Street is currently causing a backup from Florence as it's on the right shoulder. And in South LA's 110 North at the 105, 2 right lanes are blocked with an accident and 10-minute drive, and backup runs heavy from El Segundo Boulevard.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer custom-made faux wood and real wood blinds and shutters, cellular shades, Roman shades, bamboo shades, exterior shades, and more, all at factory direct prices. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
The U.S. Olympic men's basketball team cruised to a 26-point win today over Serbia in an exhibition game in Abu Dhabi. 18 points for Steph Curry. LeBron had 11. Team USA is 3-0. They head to London for their final 2 exhibition games. They play South Sudan Saturday and Germany on Monday. Then it's on to Paris to get ready for the Summer Olympics. There are 2 games in the WNBA today, Atlanta at Minnesota and Indiana at Dallas. After the games, the WNBA shuts down for a month to take a break for the Olympics. The U.S. Women's Olympic team will play an exhibition game Saturday in Phoenix against a group of WNBA All-Stars. That game will tip off at 5:30 p.m. on ABC. Kentucky State and Morehouse College have agreed to play in the Chicago Football Classic September 21st at Soldier Field. Soldier Field has been the site for an annual showcase featuring HBCU football teams. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on. Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power. Fight the power.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
With reported hate crimes rising in recent years, California has responded through outreach efforts across state government and in collaboration with community-based organizations for the launch of CA versus Hate. This non-emergency, multilingual hate crime and incident reporting hotline provides an anonymous reporting option for victims and witnesses of hate acts reported in 15 different languages through the online portal and in over 200 languages when calling the hotline. Report anonymously by calling 833-866-4283, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or online at any time at cavshate.org.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yo, on the A-man corner I stood looking at my former hood. Felt the spirit in the wind, knew my friend was gone for good. Through dirt on the casket, the hurt I couldn't mask it. Mixing down emotion, struggle I hadn't mastered. I choreographed 7 steps to heaven. Inhale, waiting to exhale and make the bread leaven. Veteran of the Cold War, it's a guy I go for what I know or what's known. So some days I take the bus home just to touch home. From the crib I spend months gone. Sat by the window with a clutch stone, listening to shorties cuts long. Young girls with weak minds, but they butt strong. Tried to call or at least speak the Lord, but didn't have a touchstone. It's a dog and dog world, you got a must own. Some of this land I must own. Out of the city, they want us gone. Tearing down the jacks, creating plush homes. My circumstances between Cabrini and Love Jones. Surrounded by hate, yet I love home. Asked my guy how he thought traveling the world sound. Found it hard to imagine he hadn't been past downtown. It's deep, I heard heard the city breathing in sleep. A reality I touch, but for me it's hard to keep. It's deep. I heard my man breathing in sleep. A reality I touch, but for me it's hard to keep.
So much on my mind, I just can't recline. Blasting holes in the night till she bless sunshine. Breathe in the hell vapors from bright stars to shine. Breathe out, weed smoke, retrace the skyline. Yo, how the bass ride out like an ancient mating call. I can't take it, y'all. I can feel the city breathing, chest heaving against the flesh of the evening. Kiss the eyes goodbye, I'm on the last train.
Come on, Andy, you doing it. You doing it. It's Areva Martin in real time. I'm your special guest host, Farajii Muhammad. This is KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm so happy you're joining us today as we have these conversations because we have a lot to talk about. And I am talking it with my brother, Jared Hill, an award-winning journalist, writer, and professor. He served as the president of the National Association of Black Journalists here in Los Angeles. And he is now on the line just talking and sharing his analysis about where we are in this political and social space. More importantly, more political space. We're just a few months away from the national election. And Jared, I did a little social media stalking of what you've been putting out there, brother. And I couldn't agree with you more. You posted on X, Shonda wouldn't have written this election season. It's too absurd.
Yeah.
Speaking of the great Shonda Rhimes, you said she wouldn't have written this.
No, today as a journalist, these weeks as journalists have been exhausting.
Brother, please.
Following this election.
Hey, man,
I think that we've seen so much happen over the course of just like moments, it seems like, in a single day. And so today, seeing that Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID, I was like, oh God, Shonda would not have even done this to us on Scandal. Like,
hey, Jared, remember?
Nobody would have bought it.
Hey, remember the show The West Wing?
Absolutely.
You thought there was some plot lines or some storylines in that one, but then we get this election season. I have to say, and I might be wrong, and please correct me if I am wrong on this, Jared. I have never seen an election season quite like this before. I mean, we're literally in. This is an historical time, not just for black people in this country, but for all of America. We're in a very historical time. And it just seems like everything that we thought was the convention or the tradition that we were used to, all of that has been thrown out the window. We got a debate that we didn't. For example, let's look at just some of the outliers of this moment. We saw two presidential candidates, one president, an incumbent, and another candidate having a debate that was not hosted by the Presidential Commission, Debate Commission, that was hosted by a news network, right? That might be the only debate we'll get outside of the vice president debate, if that happens. We've seen an assassination attempt. We're seeing people calling for a president to get off at the top of the ticket 4 months before the national election. Shonda, please tell us there's a happy ending coming along somewhere.
Well, I would say that in that context that you're framing there, I think it's important for folks to hear, like, we're always using the word unprecedented. We're always talking about the historic and the biggest and the worst and the most this. And I think that those words have really lost a lot of power for people.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't think the word unprecedented really means the same thing that in the culture the way that it did, maybe 10 years ago.
That's
but
true.
I think that it's important for people to understand that this moment that we are in, this election that we are in, as much as we've heard in years past, the most important election of our lifetimes, or this is the most, pivotal vote of your life and all those different kinds of things. Like, I don't know how moving that is to a voter right now.
Yeah.
But I would say that, like, as we look right now, if you were to turn on the television and watch the Republican National Convention as it is happening right now, Peter Navarro, who was a White House executive, a White House advisor for Donald Trump, literally just went from prison to the stage in the same day, right? Like he woke up in prison this morning and he's on the stage of the Republican National Convention right now speaking and literally using the words, if they will come for me, they will come for you. And it's like, no, but you committed a crime, bro. Right? And so I think it's important for us to be able to recognize, like, this is a different moment that we're in. And when people are talking about the importance of voting, they're talking about the importance of these issues and talking about who you should be voting for and who you shouldn't. Like, we are in a time where things actually are really on the precipice of going in one direction or another for the foreseeable future.
It makes, when you said that, Jared, the first thing that came to my mind is something I heard Brother Tavis did say on the show, which was we have, because there are so many changes, like Americans, and I saw also Bernie Sanders said this, he said politics should be kind of boring. Right? Like when you think about the political landscape back in the day, it was like constituent services, of course you had an election, there was some mudslinging, but this just doesn't feel like boring. This feels like a Hollywood.
It feels dire.
It feels like a Hollywood production. It feels like, as I heard my brother Tavis, we aren't really ready. And I'm saying we as the American people, not just black folks. I'm saying the American people, we don't live across the waters where they have to deal with the uncertainties of bombings and the uncertainties of, corruption straight out, where you have militias coming in and all of these things. Like when you go to other parts of the world, that's a part of their daily life. But here in America, with all of these changes, with all of this stuff that is happening, I'm not sure, and I know we got like 60 seconds before we take our next pause, but I want to kind of get your take. Like, are we equipped to handle all of these changes in a very short period of time? And yet we are expected to come out of this whole process to make sound decisions about our future. Are we ready for that? Can we do that?
I would say I would even look at the framing in a different way and looking at it from like how much information we're bombarded with, right? You talked about Tavis thinking about it from an international perspective and what it's like to live in other countries that face various different kinds of danger and things to be afraid of.
Yeah.
I think about it through the media lens in the ways in which we are bombarded with information all day long. I don't just mean like the news, right? I mean information on our phones, notifications from a news agency, from an app that we're on, from our friends, from Facebook, from Instagram, from TikTok, from the various different places. We're overloaded with information. And I think that's a big part of why we see so many people are kind of succumbing to some of these narratives that we see being put out into the world that are counter to things that we actually watched and saw.
It's we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want to get your take on this, Jared, because I got some sound I want to play from the Republican National Convention. And I want to get your take on this because now we're seeing that within Black America, there is a diverging political path that we're all taking. And I'm wondering to myself that given all of these other uncertainties, and if we start as black folks in this country, we start to kind of move in all which ways, is it going to be helpful or hurtful in the long run? We'll continue the conversation with Jared Hill and with you here on Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, LA, it's time to step up and be a climate change hero. Go Metro and help us shape a better future for all Angelinos. From enhancing our diverse communities to preserving our planet, Metro is dedicated to making a positive impact with every ride. Start your journey at metro.net.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Did you know that Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief for nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea? Of course you do, because everyone knows the Pepto song. But did you know that Pepto also comes in convenient and delightful solid forms?
Pepto has very fast melt cherry chewables, liquid caps that make relief easy.
Pepto makes relief on the go easy. So when you overdo it, undo it with Pepto. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule? This can help you spend and save your money wisely. So how does it work? Distribute your dollars into 3 buckets. 50% towards needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% goes to savings. Use this tool to help your journey to financial success. Sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys.
Let's take our auntie to the swap meet.
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% plus finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. We aim to be a thermostat, transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like the style, though.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And you are tuned into Farajii Muhammad, your special guest host. We're having the real conversation right now with my brother Jared Hill, former president of the National Association of Black Journalists here in Los Angeles. And my brother is just breaking it down. And I'm getting text messages, Jared, that's saying that you on fire right now with your analysis as we talk about this, these things, right? And putting it, and that's why I wanted to start off the conversation talking about having a proper frame. Because off air, I was just talking to my engineer, Andy, and, you know, there are people who are seeing all of these things happening. But because, as you said before in your earlier remarks, you said that we're inundated with so much information that it's becoming harder and harder for people to determine what's real, what's fake. It's becoming harder and harder for people to accept what's the truth and what's a lie. Or to make the differentiation between the two. It's becoming harder and harder for people to have a sound view, a sound frame, a sound context on how to see things. So we look at a situation, for example, with this assassination attempt of Donald Trump, and of course social media exploded saying that it was all staged, and there was so much misinformation. The Associated Press put out a piece just hours after the shooting that said that there was just so much fodder online about who's responsible and all of these things. But the great concern that I have is the making sure that in spite of all of the sensationalism that's around not just that incident, but even around the talk around the president stepping down, that we don't lose ourselves in the headlines and that we stay grounded in the moment, that we stay grounded, and as the old saying say, we keep our eyes on the prize. What's your take on that, Jared?
Well, So I approach this in a couple of different ways. Like as a journalist, right, I would say like there's not any evidence that this shooting was staged. There's not like anything that would corroborate that. I would say just as a guy in the group chat, I've heard some interesting conversations with different friends that are like, I believe this, I don't believe that, etc.
Yeah.
I think it really speaks to, though, the distrust of all of it that we see, right?
Yeah.
If we kind of take a step back from the actual event itself and say, like, yes, this displays a significant distrust in all of these systems in our election. In this election, I should say, not necessarily in our election systems, but in this election, we're looking at Donald Trump as a candidate who has given us every reason not to trust him. But then we also have a media landscape that is so fragmented that people are getting information from every different kind of place, which really boils down to a media literacy conversation about people needing to have a better understanding of where they're getting information, how they're getting information, and the purpose of the information that they're getting, right? Because there's going to be plenty of places that are going to support the idea that this was a staged event. There are going to be plenty of places that are going to support the idea that Joe Biden was the man up on the roof himself. There will be other kinds of perspectives somewhere in the middle, right? And so I think it's important that we recognize that like the places that we get information are really important because people are getting so many different messages that are competing with one another, that are completely difficult to even believe, and don't know what to do with all of that information. And that's reasonable because we're not used to having this much information thrown at us all the time.
And this leads me to the place, and I want to, and Andy, if we can, I want y'all to hear what Tim Scott said yesterday, as he was one of the many.
Like you gonna do that to me live on the radio?
Jay, I gotta do it, brother.
Come on now.
But I thought this was interesting. Here is a man who was convicted of all of these felonies, of all of this issues. Here's a man who went to court for sexual abuse. Here's a man, all of these things. And here's what Tim Scott said at the convention yesterday.
Are you ready for 4 more years of Donald Trump? Oh, me too. Listen. If you didn't believe in miracles before Saturday, you better be believing right now. Thank God Almighty that we live in a country that still believes in the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the Alpha and the Omega. And our God still saves, he still delivers, and he still sets free. Because on Saturday, the devil came to Pennsylvania holding a rifle, but an American lion got back up on his feet and he roared!
All right, that's enough. This was Monday night, folks, not yesterday. This was Monday night. Jared, you still with me? Because I don't want you. I didn't want you to hang up the phone.
I was gonna say, define with you. Well, I think Tim Scott is such an interesting person for us to like look at in this situation because I think that so many of us, we act like Black Republicans aren't real, right?
Right.
And like
this is not about that.
There are legitimate,
right?
Yeah, there are legitimate Black folks who who see the issues and align with Republicans, or at least have over the past years. But I've looked at Tim Scott. And Tim Scott is one of many when we look at this particular Republican National Convention and these particular brand of Republicans, people who have had to like really, they've used so many different analogies, but essentially like bow to Donald Trump, right? To humiliate yourself in front of Donald Trump, to really kind of show yourself as loyal to him after having at the very least recognized him for who he was in the past. And so Tim Scott getting up there after all of the things that we've seen Tim Scott do throughout this election season, to get up there and talk about God Almighty and the Alpha and the Omega and a lion roaring, it was nauseating to watch.
But here's the part, and I'm adding on to it because I agree with you 1,000%. The part is that you now have framed Donald Trump as if he is some evangelical, some heavenly, leader that he's still he is some beloved son, and this is why I said that we do need to make sure that we are clear as black folks in this country that we got to look past the sensationalism and look past all of the fanfare, because there are people, who we know who Donald Trump is. He's a felon. We know who Donald Trump is. He's a sexual abuser. We know who Donald Trump is, right? He's a liar. We know who Donald Trump is. He's a fraudster. But now you're going to stand before the world and say that God has bestowed him. He saved him, as if he's this moral leader. And people, here's the crazy part, Jared, very quickly. I'm gonna relinquish for the last 90 seconds. The crazy part is people believe it.
I think there are people who believe it, and I think there are people who buy into it, right? Whether or not they believe it. But I think that we also have to think about this. I appreciate that you brought up the Christian piece of this, because when we see the numbers of folks who identify with Christianity continuing to diminish, and this is one of my last political commentaries for a while, because I'm going to grad school at Harvard Divinity studying religion and how it's applied to the real world through journalism. Thank you. It is something that is on my mind often, and I think about the ways in which we see the evangelical right, the white evangelical, the Christian nationalist movement, if you will, using the name of God, using the name of Jesus, using the institution of church to be able to attach themselves to Donald Trump and being able to paint this white American idealism. And I think that we're seeing people buy into it, but it's also important to recognize that white supremacy and the message of white supremacy doesn't only translate to white people, right? We see black people buy into it. We see Native folks buy into it. We see people from every different background, whether they be straight or gay or cis or trans or whatever it is, buy into it. And this is a demonstration of that as we continue to watch person after person on this Republican National Convention come up and really hold him up as some kind of deity or as some chosen person by God.
Absolutely. Jared Hill, I cannot thank you enough. Congratulations on making the big move to go to Harvard and to learn how you can just uproot and bust up some stuff. We're going to do our best. With both in the media space as well as the religious space. And as you said it on your X platform, Shonda wouldn't have written this election season. It's too absurd. This is absolutely just. But I am very, very I'm grateful that we have individuals like brothers and sisters like you to help us, to give us some framing, some context of these issues. So Jared Hill, thank you so much. Folks, make sure y'all follow Jared Hill on all social media platforms at Jared, Jarrett Hill, or you can find him on social media. He is an award-winning journalist, writer, and professor, and he served as the president of the National Association of Black Journalists here in LA. Jared, thank you so much, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Have a good one.
You too. Stay with us. More conversation here on In Real Time, right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. President Biden is touting his accomplishments that benefited Black Americans. While speaking in Las Vegas at the NAACP National Convention, Biden said he focused in groups that need help the most, noting his administration has cut Black childhood poverty in half. He added that he's been able to connect disenfranchised Black communities. Biden warned Donald Trump will undo all of their accomplishments for Black Americans if he wins the race. Washington, D.C. is planning to create 4 new monuments recognizing the achievements